All right, fifth grade, if you are watching this video, then you are ready for the step of editing. Hopefully, you watched the videos on drafting and revising, and you truly did those steps. You didn't just paste in and then move on to the next step. Hopefully, you did some in-depth revising using your ELA reference folder to guide you, as well as that list of qualities of an effective memoir to make sure that we are going to see some major growth from the first memoir you wrote to this one. So that brings me to the step of editing. And this is another step that I am not seeing kids complete, not earnestly anyway. So this step, when you get here, you go in and you begin with scrolling down to the second page. Okay? And you go into that revision or that draft 2, and you select and paste that whole document here. Because we have work to do on this document. What you just did is go in and make sure that the content and the ideas and the way that you give details to your reader are firmly in place the way that you want them to. This step, editing, this is where we go in and we make sure that those ideas can come across clearly because everything we've written is conventionally accurate and correct. This is the stuff there are rules about, grammar and capitalization and conventions of all different kinds. We're going to use our editing check sheet that we found on the first page as our guide. But you can't go in and start with that check sheet. The very first step is to paste your document in here on page 2. Then you're going to go up and you're going to look at the first thing on your editing check sheet, which is obvious stuff. My sentence is perfect. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and review this because I don't see kids doing this. This is where you check and make sure that every single sentence starts with a capital letter and ends with a punctuation mark. This is where you check and make sure that every paragraph is indented using the tab key. This is where you check and make sure that there are spaces between your sentences. So like when you end one sentence with punctuation, are there spaces before you start to capitalize the first letter of the first word of the next sentence? Okay? So this is obvious stuff. This is stuff that you have learned and known about writing since you began to write. You know, it really doesn't matter that we're using Chromebooks to draft because the rules were the same when you were handwriting these things. You still had to indent. You still had to punctuate. You still had to leave space. I remember those handwriting pages that they taught you these things on. So I know you know this, and I know you know how to do it. I don't know if we're just getting in a hurry by the time we get to editing and we're skipping over it, or if there was just some confusion about what you needed to do in this step. So you're going to go down to that document that you pasted into page 2, and you are going to scan every sentence and make sure that it starts with a capital letter and that it ends with punctuation and that there's a space after the punctuation and that every single paragraph starts with an indent that you made happen with the tab key. I don't want to see the center. I don't want to see the space bar being used to make your draft look like text in a novel. I don't want to see that anymore. You have been taught how to use this keyboard and you have been taught how to format your document. So that's what I'm looking for there. Okay. And guys, that's an objective that I'm assessing you on. So there isn't any room for you to just skip over it. After you've checked your entire document for that obvious stuff, you're going to go back up and then you can put an X next to that because you did check through your document and you corrected any of that obvious stuff that needed correcting. Then you're going to come back and you're going to move to the next thing on your editing check sheet, and this is the one where we focus on spelling. You're going to highlight and look up every word that you're not 100% certain of. So you're going to scroll down here to your document, and you're not going to run a spell check. You're going to go word by word, and you are going to ask yourself, is that spelling correct? And if you can't answer yes, then you're going to highlight it. And you can do that using the highlighter up here, okay, to draw attention to it, because you don't want to stop and check the spelling right away, okay? You want to go through and scan your document word by word for any words that you're not 100% certain are spelled correctly. Then, after you're done, you go back and you check the spelling of those highlighted words. If you find out they're spelled correctly, all you have to do is change the highlight color to none. If it's spelled incorrectly, then you need to make your correction, and then you can change your highlight color to none. So you would have to select it and then say none to take that off, okay? You're going to do this for every single word in your memoir. Every single one, guys. Don't skip. And your title. And my recommendation actually is to start at the bottom of your document and go backwards, because then your brain is not trying to read the words in the order that they appear in a sentence. It's focusing on each word at the word level, and it's not trying to insert meaning. It's just looking to see if that word is spelled correctly. So for example, if this were my document that I pasted in, I would start here and I would go from right to left, okay? So I would look at this, memoir. Is that word spelled correctly? Yes. Your. Yes. Edit. Yes. To. Yes. So that's basically how it's going to go throughout the whole document. When you're finished editing for spelling, you're going to come back up, and then, and only then, are you going to put an X in that box. Because when you put an X in any of these boxes, what you're telling me is that you did go in and edit your whole document for that specific thing. So it's not a skim and scan kind of thing. Oh, I didn't find any. No. Word by word, letter by letter, you're checking the whole thing. The third thing you're going to edit for is your title. Okay? This one's really frustrating to me because I think it's the easiest one to do, because you're only focusing on the title and you're making sure that the first and the last and all the important words in between the first and the last are capitalized in your title. And you know what? I am getting kids turning in, first of all, titles that aren't titles, that are still labels. That's supposed to be addressed. We learned that way back at the beginning of the year. And then I'm also getting kids who are only capitalizing the first letter of the title, and then that's it. The rest of the words in the title are lowercase, but they sure are putting an X in this box. I know I'm a little bit on a rant today, but I'm really tired of this. These are simple, and you owe it to yourself and your ideas and your thoughts and your hard work and your time to do a good job with this. Because these are the things that keep people from reading your work and knowing your heart and your mind. If they see these things not being done in your work, they're not even going to give you a shot. They're not even going to take a chance on your document. They're going to judge you, and they're going to judge you harshly. Like, oh, that person must be intelligent because they don't know how to capitalize a title. Or that person must be intelligent because they have misspelled words. Or they don't know to capitalize the beginning of a sentence, or they don't know how to punctuate sentences, when in fact that's not true. You are intelligent individuals, and it's important for your ideas to be heard and known by your readers. So do this, okay? After you're done checking your title and making sure that all of the words that need to be capitalized are, you're going to put an X here. and only after that. The fourth thing that you are going to check your document for is the personal pronoun I. Again, this one's so easy. All you're doing is skimming every single word in your document, and if the word is I, you're making sure that it is capitalized. I'm still seeing kids turn in drafts with lowercase i's for the personal pronoun. Not okay, and so easy to fix. Doesn't take any time. So you're going to scan your document word for word, and you're going to fix any of the I's that are not capitalized, and only after that are you going to put an X in the box next to it. The last thing you're going to edit for, and this is a new one, is did you punctuate dialogue or conversation correctly? Now, the easy thing to do would be to go wherever there are quotation marks and make sure that the rules that are in your ELA reference folder for punctuating conversation are being followed. However, what I've seen a lot of is dialogue being included in drafts, but not indicated that it's dialogue with quotation marks. So my advice to you is to reread your draft and ask yourself, is someone talking here? Okay, so if the person talking is the narrator and they're not saying anything out loud, which by the way, it's you because it's your memoir, then there doesn't need to be quotation marks unless you're speaking to someone else besides the reader, telling your story. If you say something out loud in your memory, or if someone else in your memory says something out loud, it needs to have quotation marks and it needs to be punctuated correctly. It's up to you whether or not you use a speech tag, and that really, really depends on how many people are involved in the conversation. You guys know that we typically use a speech tag the first time that our speaker speaks so that we let the reader know who is speaking. So check those things in your document. Scan your document word for word, every single paragraph, to make sure that you have punctuated the conversation that should be in there. By the way, if you don't have any dialogue, you need to go back to revision, because dialogue is a requirement for your memoir. Real people in real life talk to each other, and that's what should be happening in your memory too. Okay? So anyway, after you're done with that, after you've checked and you've used that page in your ELA reference folder to make sure that where you do have dialogue, it's punctuated correctly, then you may put an X here and you may move on to the step of polishing. All right, guys, I know I was a little rough with you today. I know I was a little stern, but you are fifth graders and you are so, so, so smart, and you do know how to edit, and you do know how to go back in and catch mistakes that you missed. And that's what I'm expecting, okay? So by the time we get to publishing and polishing, I don't want to see those things. I don't want to see those things in that last draft, okay? Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions about this. I'll see you in your next step, publishing and polishing. Bye, guys.